On this episode of High Spots and Cheap Pumps, the fallout from WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes making his intentions clear. That's all on High Spots and Cheap Pumps. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Silicon Steve Valley. On the other side, we got Vladdy Daddy. He like to party. Oh, baby. And we, back from Dallas, had an epic vacation and weekend. Vladdy Daddy, WrestleMania. We were shitting on the build for weeks.
Yep.
WrestleMania exceeded every expectation that most had, with the exception for a couple of very important matches. But overall, a fantastic weekend for the WWE and really for professional wrestling as a whole. As Ring of Honor had a fantastic show, and a lot of people made some money in the business, and that's always a good thing. But WrestleMania, really one of the best WrestleManias we've seen over the last 5 or 6 years.
Wow, over the last 5 or 6 years. Wow, it's a bold statement. Was it stupendous, may I ask?
Compared to the last 5 or 6 years, I mean, what have you had, like 1 or 2 good Manias in that time?
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't.
They've been on a bit of a dry spell.
Yeah, so this was they really knocked this one out of the park. The builds weren't good, but all the matches were good, and everything was very entertaining. And the biggest things that are coming out, everyone knows by now, Cody Rhodes finally makes his debut in WWE, rumored for over a month and a half, and which Dave Meltzer said it was going to be Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. Then what we had was Steve Austin and Kevin Owens not just doing a KO show. Steve Austin wrestled for the first time in 19 years with a very entertaining, good brawl match, which you would expect, beating Kevin Owens. Dave Meltzer did say Steve Austin and Kevin Owens were going to have a match, by the way. And then Pat McAfee as well, taking out Austin Theory. But then the chairman of the board, Vince McMahon, says, "Not on my watch, Mr. McAfee." And just as Dave Meltzer predicted as well, Vince McMahon takes part in a match against Kevin Owens and beats the living shit out of not Kevin Owens. I apologize. Beats the living shit out of Pat McAfee until Steve Austin comes out for one more meeting with Vince McMahon. Really a poignant, beautiful finish. They did the Steve Austin finish, really putting a nice bow on his career. It was actually a really nice touch. And it was a decent match. Stone Cold did what he had to do. Meltzer, though, did call all this stuff, and he was ridiculed because none of it was happening. But I don't want to get into that. But just a really incredible weekend. And Steve Austin really is, you would probably say for a lot of people, the highlight of the weekend, and certainly took thunder away from the main event on Sunday night.
Yeah, I mean, with that sort of talent and that superstar in there, it's hard to sort of top. And you literally had them strolling down the Attitude Era memory lane there with Vince and Stone Cold, which was probably one last time. And I was meaning to ask you too. It's like in terms of this whole Vince thing, don't you feel it was more like Pat McAfee versus Vince McMahon's ego in that match? Like, seriously, like, what is Vince doing out there? Did he really need to do a match? And then the whole punt the football into the ribs.
That was uncomfortably bad. That moment of WrestleMania, I was like, luckily my brain kicked in and said, well, Austin's going to come out, and it saved the segment. Yeah. When Austin came out and did that, it was okay. But that went a lot longer than it should have. And not only that, McAfee's bumping all over the place. You're exactly right. We've seen people wrestle the Invisible Man. I think that's probably easier than having to take the clotheslines and the bumps. Vince really looked like a 76-year-old man, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It was, it was shocking that he was actually going to go and do a match. It's one thing to get a match out of Stone Cold where it was sort of unannounced, pleasant surprise. But then Vince is like, you're not going to one-up me, Stone Cold. Not on my weekend. And he throws himself in this match here. I mean, bit surprising on that level for sure. And then in terms of McAfee, pretty impressive in the ring, right? All things considered, right?
Oh my God. Well, I actually had seen him. I did watch the Adam Cole McAfee match back in the day. So I was expecting him to have a banger. Also, I know him and the way he talks and the way he said, if you think I'm going to WrestleMania without putting on a banger, you don't know what you're talking about. The match with Vince wasn't much of a banger, though. I have to be honest. But
right.
That was probably what it was. It was probably like, well, we can't sell Vince beating him in a match. So why don't we put him in with Theory and then have Vince wrestle? So it was always going to be Vince wrestling. Clearly, that wasn't to your point. It's a monster ego thing by the chairman, but fuck, dude, he's 76 years old. And if he wants to do it and to have that moment with arguably the greatest storyline rivalry of all time with Steve Austin and Vince McMahon, I mean, that's what legends were made of. I mean, that basically turned the entire tide of the Monday Night Wars. Austin and McMahon is what combated a NWO to where WWE was the cool thing again, and then overtaking WWE until, of course, we know Eric Bischoff had a mental breakdown and quit on his company, and then WCW was bought out a year and a half later. But we know that. But Eric Bischoff's a good guy. Anyway, why do I gotta?
And you know what? Speaking of that, and here within that moment, you had one of the worst stunners to ever take place.
That stunner, no, it was the worst. The other worst one was Vince McMahon in, I think, 1996 or 97. It might have been 97. Right after, it was 97, right after Owen broke his neck. And he gave Vince a stunner then, and it was terrible. Widely considered the worst stunner ever. This wasn't just, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like, you've seen it on, and anyone that's seen it, it was, I mean, they showed a picture of Mick Foley, a video of Mick Foley just laughing.
I was going to ask you about that. You just couldn't hold it together. He was crying. He was laughing so hard at it.
Because he knows that what Vince thinks, and he knows how hard Vince is on everybody.
Yeah. And
Vince had the biggest botch of the weekend. It's that, hey, he's 76 years old. God bless him for even doing it. You know, there's that part of it. But it was so bad, it was comedic. And Austin himself, you figure if anyone's going to be pissed off, he ruined the spot. Austin himself was laughing. He didn't stop laughing the rest of the segment. He was laughing. Once he hit that stunner, he's laughing. Then he had the little bit with McAfee where he stunned him. But overall, Austin was laughing with a smile ear to ear. And that's what you love to see too, kind of rekindling that old. Austin could come back and be a force, man. He really could.
Hey, Steve, we got a lot of money for you to go to Saudi Arabia.
He's only 58, man. And all he's got to do is brawl. Stone Cold did take a suplex on the floor and a couple other nice bumps. So Stone Cold went. He definitely went. And they did it so much better than they booked it and built it. But it was a great moment. It really was. And it was a great moment seeing that amazing stunner and Vince McMahon showing you exactly why 76-year-olds should not be in a professional wrestling ring. Luckily, nobody got hurt.
Yeah, thankfully.
I was worried he hurt his legs because the way he went down, the legs looked like they were bent because he bent almost like, I've heard this before, he bent kind of like an accordion. He didn't bend like a normal human being. It's probably not. He probably paid somebody to turn into a transformer. It's just his brain inside of a transformer that looks like Vince McMahon.
Get the robots.
God damn it. We got to get to Stanford. Starscream.
So let me ask you this. All things considered, the two nights of wrestling there, what was your favorite match of the weekend personally?
I would say my favorite match of the weekend, easily would be Becky and Bianca. I think from bell to bell. I thought also I really gained an appreciation of the work these ladies did completely under the radar. Mm-hmm. And they just left it all out there. I was rooting for them to have the match of the night too, because they were getting the back seat to Charlotte and Rousey right away. And that infuriated me because these two women have been putting on this story for a long time, and Ronda can't go. She still can't go. Vince knows it now, though.
Yeah, it's obvious.
Bianca and Becky absolutely tore the house down. My second favorite match would be Cody and Seth. It actually was a fantastic match, and that moment with Cody was brilliant. It was a beautiful moment. I know a lot of AEW fans are pissed off or annoyed or think he sucks or whatever the case may be. But he got the pop he wanted, and he's going to get his title reign. They're going to give him that championship. He'll lose it shortly thereafter and then be on the mid card. That's exactly what's going to happen, but it's going to be worth it for him to get that championship.
Now, did you personally pop when he came out? We're like, all right, here we go.
Yes, I was happy.
Okay. All right, gotcha. All right, I was curious.
And this is the reason, because it was surreal for me, because I have followed and have been a supporter, even though I'm very critical of Cody when he sucked and he's disingenuous, which we can get into on his promo on Monday night.
We'll get to that.
Jesus Christ. Dusty Rhodes. And what I'm going to do then is simply I'm going to win my championship, and then my dad is going to be so proud. But I'll tell you what, folks. Anyway.
Yes.
It was extraordinary to me to see where he was 5-6 years ago. I mean, I remember watching his first match in New Japan Pro Wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom. I believe it was 11. And he didn't have this grandeur yet. He still was rocking a black hair, and he was rocking this like Bane leather jacket with the fuzzy, kind of what Dean Ambrose had rocking, kind of what Omos rocks right now.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't the same guy. And then you saw him slowly build this character, the American Nightmare, and the presentation in Ring of Honor, and then everything he did with All In. That emblem, that logo has been so synonymous with independent wrestling and AEW. And to see the American Nightmare logo pop up with all of the grandeur that WWE brings with their digital production and everything that they're doing, it was really a surreal, incredible moment if you're a professional wrestling fan, and even if you were an AEW fan, to see it, because there was a moment of Cody right there where he left a boy and he came back a man, and you saw that he's definitely a different guy than he left 6 years ago. We already knew that, but it was time for WWE Universe to see it. It was almost like Luke Skywalker walking through Jabba the Hutt's place. He's like a badass Jedi. That's similar to how it is. But then he cried too much on his promo Monday night. We'll get to it, but that was just...
Yeah. In terms of that match, it seems like perfect booking for him to go against Seth, because there's nobody better in the ring right now than Seth. And then in terms of the reaction from the crowd, they were totally into it with Cody. As far as like him arriving there, they were like bought in, and they're like, this is it, right? Okay.
Oh, absolutely. He got the big pop. Not the second night, though. Monday night he did not, but he got a monster pop. The crowd's happy to see him. And the WWE faithful, they're happy to see someone from AEW, someone who meant so much to AEW, defect. And it makes a lot of sense for him to defect. And I heard a lot of interviews. I heard 2 specific interviews with Cody over the weekend. And he's always been more of a sports entertainer than a pro wrestler. Always. He came up through sports entertainment. He earned his chops, and he was Intercontinental Champion, Tag Team Champion. He came up through the WWE system. He's a sports entertainer. He just wanted to play his own music. And he wasn't able to do it. He wasn't able to cut his own promos. He wasn't able to tell the writers, just take this and stick it up your ass. Which now he didn't say it in that way, but Cody is like, I'm not going to be mean, but I can't wait for a writer to come up and tell me what I'm supposed to say, because it's not going to fly. So Cody is just a different cat now. And I think he might be a guy who can be the face of the company if they buy into his bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Which it is. He's disingenuous as a babyface. He just comes off very disingenuous, and he came off disingenuous in his promo on Monday night.
Yep.
It's a great story. He's been telling that story throughout his career. He's told the story. I wanted to give Dusty that championship. And now he's going to be able to have that championship not handed to Dusty, but it's a story. It's a great story that he built in his mind. WWE is going to roll on, and that's why I know he's going to win that championship. He's throwing the hammer down the first Monday after Raw. He's going to do it. But then he's going to lose it, and then he's going to go back to the mid-card and just be another guy again. That's what I predict. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's the bit. That's the bit on Cody Rhodes this weekend. But an incredible moment for him, and the crowd was loving it, and it was a great match, as you said.
Yeah. What do you think was the most entertaining match of the weekend?
You hate to say this, but if you are a Jackass fan, from a comedic standpoint, that Sammy Johnny Knoxville, Wee Man picked him up and slammed him. I mean, there were some good wrestling spots, plus these ridiculous spots with the giant hands smacking Sammy. Ball shots aplenty. Of course, there's ball shots. And if you were a Jackass fan and you saw it, that was probably the most entertaining match overall. I would say
now,
that
you referenced it. Let me ask you before you go on. Where does the Wee Man power slam, body slam of Sami Zayn rank against Hogan, Andre?
I'll be honest with you. Wee Man was a lot more impressive because Hogan's body slam kind of sucked. Like, he didn't get him all the way up. He was just like it was one of those. It was a shitty body. Fuck you, Hogan. You're racist. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, Hulkster. Just kidding. Just kidding, HH. That's what he puts on the end of his tweets, HH.
Yeah. So you know it's him.
Or is the Hollywood hunk Nick Nemeth?
Oh,
wait a minute. That's Dolph Ziggler, isn't it? Nick Nemeth. It doesn't matter. I'm going to edit that out anyway. No one needs to talk about either one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was incredible, man. He had him up for a little while. It wasn't like he had him up and gave him a good slam. Wee Man was arguably the best part of that match, as crazy as it sounds. And then there was Party Boy. He came out and danced half naked. You know, I was hoping Steve-O would come out and do a speedball on the.
Hey, he's sober.
I know.
Bam, however, is not. Bam's a mess.
Still, I thought he was. Still.
Train wreck.
Come on, Bam. You're better than that. You don't want to end up like.
They feuded during that last movie, and not we're going to get in a big Jackass discussion, but Bam has really just gone off the cliff, man. He's just not in a good spot.
He's a local Bucks boy from Pennsylvania.
Yep.
But yeah, that was an entertaining match. Now, that being said, the Austin match was very entertaining. It depends on what you wanted. You know what I mean? Seeing Austin do his thing was very entertaining. Like I said before, Bianca and Becky from a match standpoint and build was great. AJ, I hate to say it, AJ and Edge, it was the exact opposite of what had happened. I had very low expectations for WrestleMania, but high expectations for that match. That match did not live up to my expectations. The finish was weird. It was good enough, but the finish was weird. Like, Damian Priest, all he did was come out and just look really dashing and sexy. This. And AJ Styles was distracted, so when he went for the phenomenal forearm, Edge hits the spear out of thin air. But if he's going to get involved, have him get involved. Just have him distracted. Right. It was just a weird spot. And the match, again, like I said before, I think that match did not, similar to the Shinsuke Nakamura main event or a match with AJ a couple of years back, did not live up to what our expectations are. Maybe it's because it's AJ or an Edge, but it's probably fourth or fifth best in-ring match of the weekend. That's saying a lot for those two.
Yeah, and that's not what you have AJ Styles there for either.
That's the thing. Exactly. He's kind of lost there now, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, bring back the NWO.
Well, so that we had that going on, but Saturday night was probably the better night. And I never did think Saturday night was going to be great. You could check.
You didn't want to watch it.
What's up?
You weren't going to even watch it.
I wasn't even going to watch it until I wanted to see Cody. And fortunately, the two really crappy matches I didn't care about were early, so I can kind of not pay attention, and then I picked it up. Picked it up right in time for Logan Paul. Logan Paul's a star. He is a good sports entertainer. Came out dressed the part, clearly did a lot of in-ring work. He wasn't just there, it's amazing, some of these guys. Bad Bunny, I mean, you look at Bad Bunny, Pat McAfee, and Logan Paul. These guys have really put on some pretty decent matches for celebrities. They're not just doing the Jay Leno and Mr. T. So, but it was a very good WrestleMania. So there were several entertaining matches, to be honest with you. I recommend people to watch it for sure. A very strong four. Strong four. Okay. Maybe if the main event was really good, or good, good to great, then it would be a 5. If it was great, it'd be a 5. It was really good or very good, it would be a 4.5. Because the match was so pedestrian and kind of like a wet fart.
Yeah.
It's going to be a 4.
Yep.
That's how. I mean, it's the main event. It's the biggest match ever. But hey, the way you can look at it is Hulk Hogan never really put on a 5-star match either. John Cena has. People say he can't wrestle. That's bullshit. Cena has had some top-notch matches with people. But Hogan never had a great match, except for maybe the Warrior, and that was just because of the crowd and The Rock. That was just because the crowd was so into it.
The Rock match in Toronto is one that I could still watch, and I get what you're saying. It's not because Hogan's like this technical genius or he's by no means Bret Hart, but that match and the emotion that was felt in it, I got to give Hogan and Rock both a lot of credit. It's still entertaining as hell to me to this day.
But that's the crowd. The crowd made that match, and that's how important the crowd, organic sounding crowd, is, and that's why when you hear the WWE do this shit with it really takes away from that magic. But that's a whole other story. But either way, it was a fantastic, absolutely fantastic night. But again, the two disappointments would be AJ. Edge wasn't as good. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't phenomenal or stupendous. No. And then the main event. And you know what? I'll say it. Ronda Rousey and Charlotte didn't have a horrible match. Match was okay. Oh. It wasn't good and probably should have been about 10 minutes shorter.
Ric Flair felt it was the greatest women's match ever.
He's lying. Are you serious about that?
Yeah, he tweeted that out. Yeah.
He's a fucking idiot.
He's just
Ric Flair's an idiot at this point. He is a shell and caricature of his former self. That's a joke. Rick, come on, man. She won with a big boot. It was the dumbest match. It wasn't a good match. It was a boring match, and it was arguably the worst match on the card, other than the New Day getting squashed in less than 2 minutes. So Ric Flair is absolutely he has zero credibility anymore. The things that he has said over the last 2 years, people say he gets older like a fine wine. He's getting older like a bad pair of shoes because he stinks. It's just, that's the way it is for Ric Flair at this particular point in time. Ric Flair, you are embarrassing yourself. You are.
Yeah, I'm looking for the quote, actually.
And by the way, it's not Charlotte's fault. Ronda Rousey doesn't want to be there. She doesn't want to put in the work to be really good at it. And the crowd knows that she's full of shit when she tries to act like a babyface. But the good thing about this, while you're looking for that quote, the good thing about this, the booking tells me Vince McMahon realizes Ronda Rousey is never going to be what they thought she was going to be. They tried desperately. She botched the first Mania finish. And when she came back, she clearly didn't care or what she was doing. She didn't work and got any better at being a professional wrestler. This isn't on Charlotte. Ronda, and by the way, Ronda probably had a much better match than I thought she was going to have.
I found the quote. The tweet on April 2nd, Ric Flair's verified account. And here's the quote. The greatest women's wrestling match I've ever seen! Exclamation point. So you're going to love this next one. So real and authentic! Exclamation point. Thank you at Ronda Rousey and Miss Charlotte for changing the game. Woo! Hashtag WrestleMania.
You're an idiot, Ric Flair, and you probably think other wrestling fans are idiots too, because no one bought into that at all. Nobody's saying, Flair's got a good point. Everybody knows you're a disingenuous bum at this point in time. No one wants to pay you any money because you like to throw your dick around when women are cornered, right? So at the end of the day, Ric Flair is becoming quite the pariah in the world of professional wrestling, and it's amazing to see that happen. But when he says things like that, when it was not even the best match of the night, wasn't even a top 3 or 4 match of the night, and it was on the same card, Bianca and Becky, Ric Flair, you are a disingenuous bum. So he's losing his shit too. You and Bam Margera can go have a real good time somewhere because you guys are absolutely shells of your former self. And by the way, Ric Flair, I used to love you, buddy. I think, I'm like everybody with Ric Flair. But you're embarrassing yourself. And people who loved you, Ric Flair, are really pitying you now. And you're embarrassing yourself. And I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm saying it because you need to get your shit together. Because, again, embarrassing.
Yeah. And the thing is, it just he's annoyed at Becky. So he's not going to give her credit for the best women's match he's ever seen.
Yeah. And
you would almost think he's a little bit biased because Charlotte's in the match, huh? So it's unfortunate. And then it seems from, you're reading and seeing online with Rick is that he's back drinking, even though he's gotten a second shot at life. It's almost like the Mickey Mantle thing in ways,
Yeah. I mean, he basically he's going to go out in his bed drinking or in the ring. He wants to wrestle again, too.
He should wrestle Vince.
He's just hanging on to his glory days. It's fucking pathetic and sad. And God, you know what? They were great glory days, though. So I get it. Yeah. You want it to last forever, and he still has money where he can still act like that. And I'm sure there's some women who are interested in riding Space Mountain. He's still in his own little world living this lifestyle. But Rick, everyone that used to respect you is starting to think you're a clown, a disingenuous, narcissistic clown. Get your shit together, homie. Seriously.
Yeah, I can't really disagree with that. And I'm a big Flair fan. It just, it goes back to the old saying, sometimes it's better to burn out than fade away, So.
He's trying to burn out. He's trying his best, but.
Yeah.
Just keep it. Fucking wind. That flame in the wind is still, that candle in the wind is still going. Goodbye, Ric Flair. The penis was dangling around out. It seems to me. Never mind.
Tommy Dreamer was impressed.
You cheated on your wife 30,000 times. And embarrassed children to hate you no matter how many times. And we'll come up with the candle in the wind lyrics later.
Who's more disingenuous, Cody or Flair?
Well, I think Cody is definitely, because Ric Flair actually believes Ric Flair believes everything that he used to say back in the Crockett days, man. I'm the best. I got a $10,000 suit, $20,000 watch, my shoes, $500. Throws him around. I mean, everyone loves Ric Flair. Come on. But overall, WrestleMania was absolutely great. And then Stone Cold comes back. But we move on. What else we got going on for WrestleMania? As again, we can see our recap for night one is on our YouTube page. I did it live and didn't fuck up at all. Woo! Great. Woo! Woo! No Ric Flair dad jokes there. For those of you who don't know about that, it's because we edited it out.
It's the magic of editing.
Oh, those bloopers. What will get you canceled today?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, we move on to Monday Night Raw, and we got the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, kicks us off, and he didn't say welcome to Monday Night Raw.
Wow.
Come on. Everyone always say welcome to Monday Night Raw, even if they're a heel. Hey, everybody. Seth Rollins, welcome to Monday Night Raw. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this Cody promo? I've already alluded to it quite a bit, and we'll get into it, but
this promo was so Cody, it was disgusting. It's so, the word disingenuous keeps on coming up, and it is because he is absolutely disingenuous. The way he milked the crowd, wanting just to get reactions out of him before he'd actually go and actually say something, was way overboard to me. Like it was like it was almost as if The Rock returned. And he was just basking in the people's like energy and their reaction. Cody's nowhere near The Rock. All right. He could have cut that pause in half and been okay. But he milked it. I think as I started watching, I texted you. I'm like, my God, he is milking this. Like, I can't believe. And, so there was a couple of things. I knew that the Dusty thing was definitely going to come up, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing too is, what's the smug way he started the promo as well? Let me tell you a story. Or
what do you guys want to talk about? Same thing.
Yeah.
That's the exact same thing he opened with on his last promo in AEW.
Yes. So that was a little bit of a callback to the two different shows. And then, he starts going through his promo here, and he's explaining his return and why does he come back and this and that. And, you can almost have a drinking game with Cody. And, take a shot when he mentions Dusty. Take a shot when he mentions his daughter, Liberty, which he mentions her name as if the WWE Universe knows who Liberty is. I mean, honestly, I barely know who Liberty is, other than the fact that that child is the reason that racism no longer exists, right?
And she had a gender reveal for herself on national television.
Right. So
fucking guy had a gender reveal. What a fucking douchebag.
So, and the thing is, Cody's promos are so scripted. He doesn't use a writer. He's the writer, but he is practicing this in front of a mirror for hours probably. And the way he goes back from tears to adulation and what his purpose is, going back and forth to that's where the disingenuous part comes to me. And really, that's what I have to say about that. It was just, I can't wait for this crowd to turn on him, and it's going to happen. They're going to start seeing through his bullshit eventually. Trust me on this. They're going to get tired of him, much the way the AEW fans did.
If they do, he's not winning that championship.
No. And he's going to have to turn heel because Vince is going to be like, God damn it.
He's not turning heel.
Come on. It's going to make him do Stardust then.
Nobody likes you at all. Nobody. I know you're trying to be yourself, but you're an asshole.
So they rooted for Baron Corbin over you.
Well, that's the thing. Cody really, really loves himself a lot, and it's clear. His brother and his wife have consistently said nobody's got a bigger ego than Cody Rhodes. And you hit the nail on the head. That whole pausing because it was just too much noise, it wasn't that much noise. In fact, more people were taking pictures. It was very quiet. His pop the second night, I was like, why aren't they going crazy? Because it was – and I heard from a friend of mine on Twitter – he was there and he said, it's really weird. People are actually just recording with their phones and no one's really screaming that much. So Cody, it wasn't a loud response at Raw. It was not a loud response at all. And it's certainly something Vince is going to think about. But I would doubt highly, I have to say this, unless it gets that bad that quickly, I think he's going to get his championship run within the next year. I don't think it's going to be long. I don't think it's going to be successful, but it really depends on if Vince wakes up one day and wants to have the title between Rock and Roman, and he wants that to be for the title or not.
Yeah.
That's what's going to come down to. But you're 100%.
I could see them breaking up Roman's reign with Cody, and it's not going to be necessarily successful as you say as well. I agree with that.
He's not likable.
He's not. He is not. He's not his dad, and at this point, he's not even Dustin.
Oh, come on.
Dustin's more likable.
Oh yeah, I mean Goldust when he was comedic gold. I mean that was great.
I'm saying now at AEW when Dustin's getting on and cutting a promo, he's genuine.
No, you're right. I mean, I think Cody thinks he's genuine. I think he really basks in all this emotion. But to your point, I mean, the whole bringing up Dusty starting to cry and then get all hyped up for what you're doing, then cry again. I mean, I think he went in and out of tears like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Yes.
But you know what? It's a different game now. This is the difference. AEW fans will be like, what the fuck? WWE fans, the guys who just watched WWE, they have loved this Seth Rollins laughing character. Cody might be perfect for WWE. It's like he was brought up with it, couldn't work within the structure as a sports entertainer, went on the road, worked with some of the greatest wrestlers ever, and then he comes back again as a man. He might be perfect for this role, but he's going to have to be a lot more genuine than what that was. That was... I don't know. I just was not happy with it. And I was slightly annoyed by it, to be honest with you. He was annoying me. It was like, come on, dude. They aren't even that loud. It just was, he wouldn't be able to pull it off in AEW because the fans would be booing him out of the building already.
At one point, he, during when he's trying to absorb the energy of the crowd and their them going crazy, let's air quote that. He turns his back to the hard camera. And he goes to the crowd and he's like, give me more. And he's like trying to get more like them to be ramped up again. Like, I don't ever see The Rock or Stone Cold ever doing some shit like that, Cody. Like, that's what I'm saying. He could have cut that in half and it just would have been sort of organic and natural. All right, continue with your promo, homie. But no, I'm going to milk this for the golden cow that it is.
And he wasn't really that big of a deal when he left. Like when he went to the Indies, I was like,
yeah,
meh.
I like when Cody was there with Goldust and Dusty, and he was feuding with the Authority. I thought they really effed that up. They could have done something really well there, storyline wise, and it just turned to shit. And I'd love to know what where it went awry. I don't know if it's like you've heard that of that promo that Dusty was out there with Stephanie. And he started kind of going into business for himself. And, with Stephanie, especially, everything's scripted. So I don't know if that sort of turned them off. And because here you had an old school legacy family trying to go up against the Authority, total underdogs. And here they went and beat the Shield for a tag team belts. They had some momentum. Cody was like, good looking guy, talented for WWE for sure. His older brother's there, his old man. I mean, this is all like coming together. And then I'd love to know, and I maybe I got to go and double check and see where it went off the tracks. But they really dropped the ball with this. I'm hoping that they can return to this to a certain level. Cody doing this by himself. Do you think he has it in him, or is he going to need somebody else next to him?
It doesn't matter. Jinder Mahal was world champion. If Vince wants him as a champion, he's going to be champion.
Yeah, now, that's true.
The question, so I find it very hard to believe that Cody's not going to be a world champion within the next year. The question is, though, the question here we got, and please, anyone in the comments, let us know. Tweet at me, at HSCP Wrestling. If Cody wins a championship, but has a Big E or Jinder Mahal type run, a few months, nothing crazy. Mahal was like 6 months, actually. I don't want to get too crazy, but if Cody has a pretty pedestrian run as world champion after he wins and then goes basically as the Miz, Dolph Ziggler, whomever, chilling at the mid card, was it worth the move to AEW to WWE for his legacy? And that's going to be the big question. I think for him, if he wins that title, that's enough. And so at the end of the day, that's why I think he made this move. But a Cody Rhodes fan wants him to do a lot more than what he'll do. Hulk Hogan has had a couple of really nice words about Scott Hall the night he died. So he said, "Look, brother, he was a good brother. But he was actually shaking up a little bit. It was almost like he was Cody talking about Dusty." Almost.
More genuine.
No one's that No one's that passionate and sad and emotional.
And Hogan's a notorious liar.
And racist.
Yeah.
We're having fun with HH today. HH and Flair. Talk about stocks that have dropped like a rock the last 5 years. Holy shit.
It's true.
Look, brother. Oh, man. Well, anyway, folks, this show's got off the rail. We started talking about Ric Flair and his helicopter penis. And here we are. We are through WrestleMania weekend. It was a great weekend. Thank you so much, WWE, for providing it and all the great wrestling that happened, including Supercard of Honor. This is Silicon Steve Alley, Vladdy Dottie. It was great to see you, my brother. We'll be back with you guys next week. Check out other videos that are happening here on YouTube, right? We're going to be checking out. Please check out the Cody Rhodes meeting with Vince McMahon. That just dropped a couple days ago. It's been exciting, and we are going to be notching up the podcasts on a almost near daily basis coming in May. So keep that going there. And we want to thank you guys for checking us out. Thank you everybody on YouTube for watching. We're continuing to get more views, which is what we want. We thank you guys so much for checking us out. Vladdy Dottie, anything else you want to say before we get out of here, brother?
Nah, man, that's all for me.
All right. Thank you so much, Vladdy Dottie. This is Silicon Steve Alley. This is High Spots and Cheap Pop. You're under the lesson.